All right, so now that we've filled out the unit circle and we know the values on the unit circle, let's talk about how we're going to be using the unit circle. So a couple of problems that you'll need to be able to do are finding the sines and cosines of angles. So if I wanted to find the sine of, say, 150 degrees, the way you do that is you locate 150 on the unit circle, and that means it's associated with this coordinate pair. And then you remember that sine is the y value. So the sine of 150 is 1/2. In this way, you don't have to go through that whole triangle construction and getting the x and y coordinates from the ratios and all that we did before, because it's right here on the unit circle. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's say I wanted to find the cosine of 7 pi over 6. Now in this case, this is a radian measure. So you again look at the radian measures. There it is. And then it's associated with this coordinate pair. And I wanted the cosine of that, which is the x value. So that's negative root 3 over 2. So in this way, you could do sines or cosines for any of these on the unit circle just by locating the angle and then by getting the associated coordinate. So let's talk about one of the reciprocal ratios. Let me get a different color here. How about purple? So let's say I wanted to find the secant of 2 pi over 3. Now, in order to do this, you have to remember that secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So what I'm going to do is essentially what I did for the sine and the cosine. I'm going to locate the angle. This is in radians. And 2 pi over 3 is right here. And then I'm going to know it's associated with this ratio. Sorry, this set of coordinate point pair. Can't talk. This set of coordinates. Cosine is the x value, so that would be negative 1/2. But if cosine is negative 1/2, secant's the reciprocal of that. So it would be negative 2 over 1, or just negative 2. Do one more. We'll do that one with the cosecant. So let's say I wanted to find the cosecant of 315. I know this is the reciprocal of sine. So I locate 315. There it is. This is the coordinate pair associated with it. So the sine is the y value, be negative root 2 or 2. But cosecant's the reciprocal of that, so it's 2 over negative root 2. And you never want to leave a square root in the bottom. And so that would be the cosecant of 315. So now we know how to find sine and cosine by looking at the coordinates associated with an angle. And we know how to find secant and cosecant by reciprocating those coordinates. So what do we do with tangent and cotangent? So in order to be able to understand what we do with those two, I need a little space here. Let me erase. We need a new relationship. Now, the relationship that we're going to look at here, remember how sine of an angle is opposite over hypotenuse? And cosine of an angle is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. Now, if I look at these two fractions, they have very similar to each other, right? They have the same denominator. If I were to take sine and divide it by cosine, that would be the opposite over hypotenuse divided by adjacent over hypotenuse, which is like multiplying by the reciprocal. The hypotenuses would cancel. And I'd be left with opposite over adjacent, which is the tangent of an angle. So essentially, tangent you can find by dividing the sine value by the cosine value. So let's do a quick example. If I did tangent of 240 degrees, I would locate 240 on the unit circle. It's right here. I'd look at the coordinate pair associated with it, right here. And then I'd say it needs to be sine over cosine. Well, sine's the y value divided by the x value. So when I simplify that, I get plain square root of 3. So to find tangent, you do sine over cosine. And remember that cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So we write cotangent, instead of doing sine over cosine, we would do cosine over sine. Now you know how to find all 6 trig ratios using the unit circle as long as it's one of the angles on the circle.